almost everybody has some life-changing event. The best stories come from the people who take that life-changing event and say, wow, I need more purpose. I need to add value. And they feel like they need something that is substantial. And that often comes in service. And so the greatest stories are for people who experience something and then find their fulfillment out of helping others. And that to me is the final stage of being. It's where you've gone through something, you lean on somebody else because we need people during those times. Then you heal and you grow, and the final step is giving it away.
Hey, sales hunters, welcome to season 2 of Beyond the Business Plan, where heart meets hustle and every episode inspires you on your entrepreneurial journey. I'm LeAnn Lyon, and together we'll chart new courses, tackle challenges, and celebrate those big wins with expert guests, honest stories, and plenty of joy along the way. If you love the show, tap follow, subscribe, leave a quick review, or join our conversation with hashtag JoyMinder, because your support helps us reach and inspire more entrepreneurs. Set sail on your business adventure with Beyond the Business Plan. Picture this. A business owner who spent 2 decades building restaurants, then pivoted to a decade of healing through massage therapy, only to emerge as a creative force in marketing, crafting hero stories that transform brands and captivate audiences. What if the secret to unforgettable marketing wasn't just strategy, but storytelling rooted in real-life experience and passion? Who is this entrepreneur who's mastered the art of turning business challenges into powerful narratives, helping owners become the heroes of their own stories? Let's find out as I welcome him to the show. Dave, are you there?
I am. What a great introduction. Thank you so much.
Oh, you know what? I've read that a couple times because I always want to practice. And then, this is the real one. Even this time, I had chills. Now that I just have to tell you, that's not a common experience. And in my faith journey, I do believe that that is something that's just, there's something about, even saying these words that's powerful. And your story really is powerful. I'm so blessed to have you here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's talk about you. Well, how did we meet? So I don't have known you for a little while. We connected when you were here in Minnesota. You're now in South
Carolina. Yes.
And you've been through quite a journey. We've been through quite a journey, even in just being there for people, supporting each other and knowing what's going on and offering opportunities, I think. But let's go back. I want to start. Actually, what did you go to college for?
Well, I started out with computer science was my idea. I had started with doing programming back in early high school. And at that point, it was all brand new.
Yeah.
And the teachers told me that I knew more than they did and they couldn't teach me anymore. So I put it aside. And then I tried a little bit in college, but I found out that I was already more advanced than what was in college. And so I kind of veered away and things led me away from college and got into the restaurant world.
That's so funny because I had the same experience. I got kicked out of classes after being accused of cheating because I couldn't possibly know more than the teacher.
Yeah.
And yeah, they accused me of cheating. Once I proved that it was really my own genuine work, I got put into the computer lab for the rest of the year. Oh, joy. And went to college thinking that's what I was going to do. Ended up not liking cold, freezing basements and quit. And I really never ever went back towards anything like programming. What do you think, though we both had that brain that thrived in that, what do you think it was that attracted us, and how do you, but I kind of know how I do, how does that come into play with your world today? There's a certain
Well,
brain with computer science.
yeah, I think the big thing is asking questions and being curious, being extremely curious. And I loved what was going on with, I mean, when the first word processor came out in the 80s, I mean, I was like, wow, wait a minute. So you can just delete. I don't have to throw the paper away. And I'm a guy who doesn't type well, and I make a lot of mistakes, and my brain goes this way, and I go, I don't like that. It was a game changer,
Mhm.
kind of like AI has become a game changer now, in that what I've loved about it is it helps feed my curiosity.
Yes. I love that. When we moved into the house that I'm currently living in, we threw away my word processor from the 80s.
Oh no, that might have been worth something.
We talked about it, but it actually was a very off-brand word processor. You know how it is like with the videos that, they had VHS and whatever the other one was that never made it. This was that
Beta.
thing where the discs were actually shaped like rectangles instead of squares. It just was so, and I still had a pile of them, and I'm sure it had great stuff on it, but I think I'm getting to the age where I'm like, nobody wants to read it anyway. Like 50 journals, and like nobody cares. I should start using them in the fireplace.
I challenge you not to do that. I've known a lot of writers, and keep your stuff. Even if it's not your kids, but your kids' kids, or somebody might learn something. And that's what I always think. When I'm writing something, and I've written things that I don't read for 20 years, and I go back and go, wow, I can't believe I knew that 20 years ago, or that gives me insight that I need now.
Yes.
So I would challenge you to keep all that stuff. And I see people who draw, and the drawing isn't perfect, so they throw it away. Don't do that. That's part of
No.
you.
And that's why I think that's why the question about, how did our computer science brains turn into, what you do later? Now, you went into the restaurant business, and I turned my focus to becoming a math teacher. And so somewhat related. I mean, there's still numbers involved, right?
Well, honestly, I don't know how, people say, how do you get into the restaurant business? And I got into the restaurant business the same way most stories that have value start. It was about a girl. I had gone into a McDonald's, and there was this really pretty girl behind the register, and I was a freshman in college, and I was like, I'm going to get an application. So I got an application. She never would date me, but I got the job and ended up wearing a tie until they told me I was a manager. I just wore a tie until they made me a manager. And 20 years later, I was still in that industry. So,
Wow. Still at McDonald's?
no, no, no. I went to different places. I was a multi-unit manager for Taco Bell. My last venture was with Culver's for 4 years.
Oh, okay. And so that brought you to what? What happened?
Well, it was kind of interesting. I had been entrepreneurial for most of my life, and I had started a fundraising company. And it was a really unique opportunity. It was something, again, I was ahead of technology, unfortunately. And so we never quite got it to work, but I was working in that industry and plus doing my restaurant work. And I was doing a speaking event. And on my way home, I was driving, and I had my window open, and I passed a school bus. And this kid threw a rock out of the school bus window, and it hit me right in the back of the head and messed with my autonomic nervous system. And so it put me out of commission about 18 months. Docs didn't know what to do with me. They were giving me drugs that were killing me, and
Oh, no.
they just didn't know what to do. So I was whining to my sister one day, and she's an acupuncturist in Texas. And she said, come down and spend a couple of weeks with me, and I can help you. And to be honest, I thought of all that stuff was a bunch of hooey at first. But I said, I'm desperate. I went down, and it changed my life. And I got my life back. Found out I had some gifts in that area also. And, God works in mysterious ways, right?
Yeah.
And so I came back to Minnesota, and I was like, I got to help people. And so I went to school for massage, and got my license there and started Tender Heart Healing Center. And I ran that for 12 years until the pandemic came along. And it's kind of hard to massage from 6 feet away. And so the old business that I had was gone.
Oh,
And so we decided to move here to South Carolina to be close to my wife Karen. Her parents live here, and so we wanted to get closer to them. I didn't know it was going to be next door. It's worked out beautifully.
okay. Well, we have a lot more to dig into with your story, and we'll get right into like the pandemic stuff. Right after this, I want to mention to our audience, if you're already enjoying this, Dave is going to be one of the speakers on our summit next week. Next week. So, this is the final speaker podcast that I'm releasing before the January 2026 summit. Dave, I'm so blessed that you are going to be part of that. I know you're going to bring great value. Throughout the week of the summit, we're going through the JoyMinder sailing system, SAILING. And Dave is going to be focusing on that last letter, the G, the growing and the giving and the opportunity to just when you get to that point in your entrepreneurship journey, it's not an end. It's actually an opportunity to go right back and build more and build different. And so I'm excited to see what you're going to share with our audience next week. Anybody listening saying, wow, I need to hear that, just scroll down below. The opportunity to get the free ticket to the Beyond the Business Plan Summit is right below. Go ahead and grab your free ticket, and we'd love to see you there. So, Dave, pandemic, yes, 2020. You know what I did? I, in 2019, closed a business and started a travel agency because in my next stage of life, I was going to travel so much. And 9 months later, nobody could travel. And we really worried. I mean, at times, would we ever travel again? And so it wasn't just massage therapy, it was travel agencies. In Minnesota, it was restaurants that were actually shut down. Not everywhere, but Minnesota was very, very shut down. And you were here then. So what happened then when you moved to North Carolina, though? I mean, we're still in a pandemic when you moved, or how did that
Yeah,
fall?
it was actually an interesting story. So it's South Carolina,
So
and
right.
we um,
I have
yeah,
family in North Carolina, so I
it's the
default.
Carolinas. They're both
The
great.
Carolinas,
Um,
we'll do that.
so we had talked about eventually coming down here, and my wife came to visit, and it's kind of a fun story because she came to visit here, and her grandfather had passed away about a year past, and her father was managing this property and taking care of it because he grew up on this property. They had it since 1940, and so it was a family place, a family farm. And while she was here, the her grandfather's dog disappeared, and he had never done that before. He'd always been on the property, and they looked and they just couldn't find him. And then she came back and visited, or from the visit, and she said to me, this was really kind of weird how the dog disappeared. And when I was talking to my dad, he said, it's kind of crazy in the world right now. I don't want anything bad to happen to you guys, but if anything does, we can come, you can come down here. We'll remodel this house. You can have this place. Well, that was the first time he talked about remodeling the place because it was built in 1940, and you can imagine, what it was like, the big old fireplace in the middle, and none of our furniture would have fit in the house. And it was just one of those things. And so when she came back, we sat in my office and she told me the story. I was like, I think it's time we go. And it just floored her because she didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting because we have an Australian Shepherd and very dominant dog. They're my favorite dog of all time, but they
Beautiful.
have their space, right? And we knew that we couldn't come down here if our dog Rusty and which was that dog's name, was still here. And so we kind of believed that Butch went away to make room for Rusty. So
Wow. And Butch never came back?
yeah. No, he never came back. And so, he was older, so maybe he just went off and, did what nature calls for. And
Right.
so when we came down here, it was right during the pandemic. So we had to travel down. We sold our house in like 12 hours, which was kind of cool. And then so all of a sudden now we got to pack, and the house wasn't ready down here yet. You couldn't get any equipment. You couldn't get, appliances or doors or even
Oh,
vents the
yeah,
right size.
totally.
And so it was a challenge getting this place built up because we were bringing it right down to studs and rebuilding really. And so when we got down here, I decided to try in my hand in sales, and I got a job in sales. So I was doing a training. Plus, my wife was working remotely from the job in Minnesota. So we had the two of us, me doing a new training for a new job online, and her working her accounting job online in a hotel room for 30 days with a two
Oh,
Australian Shepherd. And so every day I would do my work as much as I could. I'd bring Rusty over here, let him run around the property. take him back, do the rest of my work, bring him back here so we could run and, get his energy out. And then we go back and stay in the hotel. And that lasted about 30 days. And it was an adventure.
Yeah. How old did you say Rusty was at the time?
He was under 2. He was just about to
Oh,
be 2.
wow. Yeah,
And
and
they
they're a
have a
high energy. Yeah, they need space. Oh, wow. Wow. Well, that's a test. I mean, how long have you been married, may I ask?
23 years. We actually, Karen's from here.
Uh-huh.
Interesting story. When we met the very first time, we got in an argument. I was picking up my sister-in-law, who I rented her basement from her, and I was going to pick her up, and I met this girl, and we started talking, and she was telling me about this new thing called Christian contemporary music.
Oh,
I was going to a very strict religious college, and I was like, nope, that's crap. It's either Christian or it's rock. You can't have anything in between. Well, she goes, you wait here. And she went to her car and she grabbed a cassette tape and she brought it back and she goes, you listen to this. And it was Steve Green, looking for a city with a true foundation, a home in the heavens, not made by hands. And it was a beautiful cassette.
hmm.
And so I had to go back and tell her she was wrong, which is always a good way to start a relationship. And so we dated for a minute, and then I went back to Minnesota, and we both kind of went our separate ways. And 12 years later, she reached out, and we talked for about 3 hours that night, and that was it. 6 months later, she moved to Minnesota. We got married, been together 23 years, and we haven't had a fight since, which is cool.
Oh, I love it. We've talked, like I said, we've talked, and one thing I've heard you say, between the two of us, and I hope this isn't exposing anything, but that, relationships often we're kind of diametric opposites. So it's interesting because that's how we fill each other, right? Like my husband and we've been married for 30 years, and I'm so grateful that he is who he is and how he operates because it's so different than how I do. But together, to use the corny phrase, we complete each other, right?
Yes.
But I also know that you've shared, sometimes, you tend to be kind of like one way or the other, but it's a different dynamic than the one I just described. And it's the reason I'm asking if you want to share this, and you don't have to, but I think as entrepreneurs, our spouse relationships are different than other people's. So again, you can choose not to go into this if you wish, or this is something that you can share because entrepreneurship is hard. And it's not just hard for us, it's hard for our families too sometimes.
Oh, I'm happy. Anytime I can talk about my marriage, it's probably my biggest asset.
Uh,
Um,
I love
I
it.
always say, we talk, Karen and I say that we share the same brain. We just share opposite hemispheres. So she is the analytical, she's an accountant, she's one of the wisest women I've ever met, and she's left-handed, which is fun. So I'm right-handed, but I am the I'm the entrepreneur. I'm the one that thinks, outside the box. I'm always out front talking to people and meeting people, and I just enjoy people. I enjoy life. She's more reserved. She's the thinker, and what's really been cool is I've been able to teach her, and she's been able to teach me.
Hmm.
And we have a relationship unlike anybody else I've ever met. We can honestly talk about any subject, and we sincerely care about each other. She's my best friend. And what's fun about entrepreneurially is there's a difference between a support or a supporting spouse and a partnered spouse. There's a meme I once saw on Facebook, I believe it was. It had a lion and a lioness, and it says, choose a partner that hunts with you.
Mm.
And I love that. What's kind of cool is that Karen has supported me in everything I've ever done, even businesses she didn't understand or wasn't 100% behind. She knew me, and she would always be supportive. Right now, she's so excited about what we're doing that she wants to be involved. She edits my books for me. When I have an idea, I bounce it off her first, and we talk about how we're going to do strategy, and together we're going to do this thing. And that's kind of exciting. In my 50s now, we're starting over on something together,
Yeah.
and we're excited about it. We're blessed. This is an amazing time.
I love that. My husband and I owned the manufacturing company together, And like your wife, Karen, and my husband Jack, they're both the analytical. I mean, we looked at 70 houses before we bought our first house for a realtor. At least we used him when we got to the end of it, right? Coming from a real estate perspective where people sometimes ghost you and suddenly they're like, look at the house I bought. It happened to me too. And it's just so annoying. But at least, we're also very loyal people to the people that we work with. But he's super analytical. And I'm very much like you, very creative, very shiny object is probably my biggest downfall. But in our manufacturing company, it was really easy. He held the space of everything inside the walls, and I held the space of everything outside the walls. So I did the outreach, I did the networking, I did the social media, he did the accounting, he did the managing of employees, and thank goodness he did the interviews because I just love everybody. And he could see the pros and cons. So, like you, we are also in a space where now what we're doing is coming more together. He's been very supportive as I've been building JoyMinder. I won't say that he completely understood it, but as I've also now stepped into private money brokering, he's like, I get that. I can wrap my brain around it. What can I do to help? And it's just it's lovely. It's so lovely when entrepreneurs have
No,
a spouse that is really there.
there's a blessing when the spouses realize that not only do they need that other person, that other perspective, but they embrace it and they give honor and respect to that. Because sometimes, the person who's out front doesn't always respect the person that's in the back of the house. Well, if you've done this long enough, you know that if that back of the house person isn't doing their job, you look like a fool out front. And vice versa, if there's not that person out front, then the person in the back office doesn't have a job. So it's the embracing those two parallels is amazing.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about what you're doing now, which is so creative and new. And, I know that there's a bit of a gap, so maybe we should cover this a little bit. When you moved to South Carolina, you had the hotel experience and, which again, 30 days in a hotel. Now, to be clear, my husband and I are talking about moving onto a boat at some point in our future. It will be 40 feet long at most. It'll be 13 feet wide at most. And that will be our whole world for up to 2 years or longer. So, yeah, talk to me about the small spaces, but we already did. So, then you were studying, you were going to do an online or some sort of a sales position. What happened? And how did you get from there to where you are now?
Well, I'm an optimist in general, and I got into credit card sales, and I thought, I had a lot of problems in credit card sales, so I'm going to try and work for a company that actually helps companies and provide a valuable service.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that everybody in the world hated credit card processing as much as I did. And so when I'm, 12 years in a massage business, when people came to see me, they were happy to see me because they were going to leave feeling better. Well, when I went into places about that, nobody wanted to talk to me. And that was a weird juxtaposition. And so, that didn't really work for me. And, I looked into solar, thought, hey, this might be something that I could do. I believe in, the intelligent, wise conservation. And that just wasn't the right industry either. It's another industry that nobody likes. Excuse me. And so I tried a few things. I owned a food truck. I was Chili the Kid because I did the restaurant business. I developed a food truck concept. I had 5 types of chili, either in a bowl or in a burrito or on a hot dog, and I had a lot of fun with that. But food truck in South Carolina and the heat is not a fun place to be. And so I think a lot of things were you know what it is. You'll appreciate this story.
I'm sure we
I
will.
knew what I was supposed to do, and I ran from it.
Mhm.
And it was like the story of Jonah. He didn't want to go where God told him to go, and so he went the other way, and God had to smack him upside the head a couple of times, including inside a whale. And I felt like that recently, and so I decided to go back to the things that I'm really good at. I'm working back in the healing industry. I started writing, and I had forgotten the passion I have for teaching and writing and creating. I've been writing since I was 14 years old.
Oh,
And and what ended up happening, and this is, I think, was the last smack upside the head. I got really sick. I got diagnosed with 5 things that could kill me, and it was a wake up call. And I worked with some people who really know what they're doing, and they put me on a vegetarian diet. And so I was on a vegetarian, well, almost vegan diet for 6 months. Basically, they told me I could have no carbs, no pasta, no breads, no meats, no coffee, no alcohol, no. I mean, there anything that brought joy to my mouth, to my face, or my life, I couldn't put in my mouth. So, but here's the thing: I lost 60 pounds. The inflammation went away. All the things that were on the wrong track started to go back. And so I was blessed. I had another chance to do the things again that I knew that I was supposed to do. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know how I'm supposed to eat. I know all that stuff. I just had to get smacked upside the head to do the right thing. And so during this time, there wasn't much I could do. I couldn't function in a job the way I was. So I started writing. And then I found AI. And I was like, okay, I have all these bad opinions of AI. You know, it's scary, it's cheating, it's all that stuff. Until I learned about it. And then what I found was that just like the word processor that we talked about was an amazing tool that changed how I could write, AI was the same thing. It took what I did really well, the creativity and the storytelling and so on, and it just made it better. And so I had books that I had been working on since I was young. I mean, I had one, my best story. It's my wife's favorite story. It was sitting on a shelf for 12 years because I got about 90% done and I couldn't finish it. I couldn't figure out how to get it done. And I plugged it in and it's now on Amazon as a book. So,
hey, love that. That's so funny what you said about, we know what to do. I do occasionally a credit card audit. By the way, highly recommend people do this more often than I do. And I found that there were things on there that I was being billed for month after month that I hadn't even meant to sign up for. Like I got a freebie and suddenly they're billing me $20, $30, a little longer than I'd like to
yes,
admit. And one of the things I found is that I had signed up for over time various, like, hey, this is how, 5-minute exercises you can do, or here's how you can track your eating. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I have a broken leg right now. So I'm not doing any walking exercises. Second of all, I know what to do. I've been around in health and I know what to do. I just need to do it. And so it was hard, but on one of them, man, they fought me tooth and nail canceling. And I just had to kind of keep pushing through. No, I really want to cancel. No, I really want to cancel. And yeah, it's important to do those things, but we do know, it's actually quite basic. Eat whole foods. If you get like, the reason we get away from the breads and the pastas is they're not whole foods. They're a combination of very processed foods. And so the more we can get away from those, the better off we are. And that's my goal in 2026 as well, is to eat more whole foods. And when I can, get back to walking. I'm just very happy that my physical therapist told me today that I can balance on one leg again and get that going.
that's awesome. It's I'm at the whole food thing as well. As a matter of fact, sitting on my stove top right now is a fresh batch of steak habanero chili that I just made.
Ooh, that sounds great.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not that we can't combine whole foods. That's amazing too. But yeah, I tend to during the day, especially because I work from home, my meals tend to be hard-boiled eggs or apples because I don't even really want to cook. I'd rather be doing what we're doing here. So, it's fun. So, you healed again.
Um, I've been blessed, I guess that's the best way to say that. And it led me to kind of something just falling into my lap. I was playing around. I was actually doing something for a friend. So
Mhm.
my wife has a Bible study that she goes to, and one of her friends in that Bible study has a very small child, 5-year-old,
Mhm.
and loves bugs. And so I thought, you know what? I can play around with this. And so I found this software that could create word finds. And so I created this book that has a bunch of little bug pictures, and it's word finds all with insects and bugs. And so I created it, threw it up on Amazon, bought him a copy, and it was like, well, what can I do with this? And so I started thinking, because I'm always my one of my passions is helping small businesses. I just the young entrepreneur, or the entrepreneur who's putting it all out there, that's my jam. Okay, I want to help them any way I can. And so I thought about it as a marketing thing. Was there something I can use this for? And so what I did is I took a friend of mine who's a real estate agent, and I took her picture and I put it on the front of the book. And then I put real estate word fund. And then using AI, I found 500 words that relate to houses and real estate. And I made a word search or a word find all about real estate. And then on the back of the book, I put all her story and her contact information. Now, the beautiful thing about this was that people don't throw books away. And so this was going to have something that was going to sit on people's desks for months, maybe years, that has something that they engage with.
So you put this all together for your realtor friend, and how did she like it? What happened next?
Well, she really loved it. It was a concept, a new concept, a way to do marketing with a way to engage. And the word engagetizing is a word that I actually made up years ago. And it's a word that summarizes kind of how I look at marketing in general. And that is, if you can create something that engages your potential client or somebody who might refer you, then you have a much better chance of having success in that relationship. Most marketing things are made for impressions. You get an impression, you get this many impressions, you get this many clicks, etc. What I really look at is engaging. How can we engage our prospects? How can we engage our team? How can we engage our community, etc.? And that thought process kind of led me to the next step. And so what I did is I asked Heather if I could do something fun with her, and I created a hero story for her. And that story was called Heather Listar and the Termite King. Now, I live in Greenville, South Carolina, and so we decided that we were going to do this in Greenville itself. So what happened is this termite king took over the city of Greenville, and it was using its army of termites to destroy all new listings for the real estate agents. And so Heather and her team, who are amazing real estate agents during the day, are superheroes at night. And so they have to go and defeat this termite king. And here's the thing, it's just fun. It's a fun little cheeky story with her and her team, and it even has her Australian Shepherd. She has one of those also in it as a main character. And what we did is we took that and created 10 chapters for her. So then each chapter has part of the story plus a AI generated image of her and her team as superheroes and the villain and her dog and all that fun stuff. And then she can use that on social media to promote herself without saying, hey, come buy from me.
Yeah.
So this is a way to engage people in a unique way. And I've been able to do this for restaurant owners, for a welder, plumber, electrician, a guy who, one of my favorites is Captain Junk. He's a guy who goes out and picks up, all the stuff that you don't want to bring to the dump and so on. And he's Captain Junk. And so we've been having fun, and we're going to find different ways for them to engage together even and do hero stories together. So it's gotten into a totally new way of marketing in a fun, engaging way. And it's kind of sticky. People look at it, they want to see what's coming next month. They want to see what's coming up on the next post.
Very cool. Engagetizing, is that the combination of words then?
Sure. So it's instead of just advertising, which
Ah,
is about clicks and impressions, now we're doing engagetizing, which is engaging your potential customers while you're advertising.
I love it. Very cool. Well, what a journey you have been on. I mean, true, really dramatic health things. I mean, to be fair, most people go through health things, but not necessarily quite as life-altering as yours. Although I had a head injury that knocked me out for a little while too, and did change the trajectory. That's when I went from not really happy computer science major to deciding I really had a calling to become a teacher. No regrets. I only taught for 5 years officially, but after all, aren't I still teaching? in everything I do and everywhere I go. And I think back to the computer science component for me, it was all about, the strategy, the figuring it out, the making a plan and executing it and making sure that things fit right and worked right. I still love doing all that. It's the puzzle piecing together of businesses. In this case, I work with businesses, or right now I'm doing a lot with private money brokering. I connect people. And that's something that I think that computer science brain of mine, way back when, I think that's how it still shows up in my businesses. And it's been just a pleasure to hear how your life has evolved and how they're not stumbling blocks. I think,
You know what
last
I
week,
think?
go ahead.
I think is one of the funnest part about what we were just talking about
Yeah.
is that yes, a lot of people have incidents. Almost everybody has some life-changing event.
Yeah.
The best stories come from the people who take that life-changing event and say, "Wow, I need more purpose. I need to add value." And they feel like they need something that is substantial, and that often comes in service. And so the greatest stories are for people who experience something and then find their fulfillment out of helping others. And that to me is the final stage of healing. It's where you've gone through something, you lean on somebody else because you we need people during those times, then you heal and you grow, and the final step is giving it away.
Mm, I love that so much because that absolutely happened. I had three very traumatic things happen within a couple of years in my early 20s. And it did lead me to, like you said, service, becoming a teacher. There's a lot of ways you can be of service, but teaching is definitely a serving profession. And thank you for that. That was a real gift to me. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome. And this has been a gift too. It's fun when minds come together and share on this journey, and we find out that we're working together to make the world a better place.
And that is what we're doing. Well, like we said, or like the saying goes, I should say, life is happening for us, not to us. When you didn't find success in solar panels and credit card processing, it was just those nudges to get you where you're going. And, many of my speakers on the upcoming summit have had very similar experiences. And I would say for pretty much everybody in the world, 2020 was that stumbling block that made people wake up. 41% of people say they want to be entrepreneurs, and yet 32% of the population who say they want to be entrepreneurs are not. And so it's only 6 to 9% of us that check the box as self-employed when we're paying our taxes and, reaching out to those people. I know you have a heart for small business. I do too. Encouraging them and to take that step forward, to follow their heart. I think a lot of people in the pandemic said, I'm done. I'm done not doing that. And they have made strides towards it, but there's always room for more. And the water's warm. Not unchallenging, but it is warm.
Entrepreneurship is not for cowards,
No.
but it is worth it. There's a saying. It says, don't pray for things to be easier. Pray that you are stronger, and because it's worth it. It's going through this stuff is worth it.
I have a sign that we just picked up on a recent vacation. I was at a gas station. They had all these hand carved signs. They were so cool. And one of the things that we just couldn't leave without buying was it says, I look at my life and all the things that I prayed for and that are currently my reality. And so, yeah, good things to think on. Well, thank you, Dave. I appreciate you. This has been so much fun. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in and listening to the Beyond the Business Plan podcast. If you missed it, we are also on YouTube. Come on over and check us out. I try hard to explain what we're doing if we're showing things, but my facial expressions are kind of funny once in a while. So you might want to check it out on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. We'd love to see you. And until next week, when we have the Beyond the Business Plan Summit going for 4 days. Dave will be the speaker on Friday, but we have 7 other incredible speakers Tuesday through Friday. If you can't make it live, we do have recordings available, so go on over and get your free ticket. We'd love to see you there. And thank you for your service, Dave.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
And until next time, keep leading with heart, and I'll catch you on the next wave of success. Hey, sales setters, are you ready to launch or refresh your business? Join us at the very next Beyond the Business Plan Summit for breakthrough strategies and inspiration. Visit joyminder.com/summit or check the link in the show notes for our incredible list of speakers and topics, and let's go beyond business plans together. Thank you for sailing with us, sales setters. Remember, your journey goes beyond the business plan. So keep charting your own course, leading with heart, and tuning in for more joy and inspiration. Find all the resources and connections in the show notes below, and your support means the world to us. So join our conversation at #JoyMinder or simply share your favorite takeaways in the comments section below. Until next time, set your sails for success.